Hi everybody. Oops, sorry about that. Adele Levine. If you're back here again, thank you. Welcome back. If this is your first time, I am an intuitive and a medium, and today we're going to cover our Seances Real. So, the reason why I'm covering that today is because I'm actually going to be doing a seance April 7th at the Mystic Museum. I think there's like 3 tickets left, so if you want to get one, go over to their Instagram at Mystic Museum and click on the square link they have, and you can get a ticket. So, I'm going to explain the two kinds of seances I kind of believe in. There's a kind where it is really a group of people that are coming together. There's usually a medium leading it, trying to make connection to the spirit world. And then there's a kind of more gimmicky, version where it's like, you know, let's, yell out, "Are you here? Are you there?" And it's usually at a haunted place, what people call haunted, or in a cemetery or something like that. And there's also the kind that's around a square table where everybody puts their hands on the table and all that. And you've seen that. That's like the traditional, I don't know, out of the movies and TV shows. Well, the way I do them personally, I'll cover a little bit about the way I do them, is everyone's going to sit in a circle. I want people to participate, and I open up the gates and I let the spirits come in and stand behind. I don't mean they actually come in. It's really raising their vibration. It's really lifting their frequency and allowing their frequency to be seen very loud and clear to everyone in the room. I am more interested when I do them as dealing with the spirits of the people in that room. It doesn't mean others don't come in, but I'm really good at knowing how to know this is not for anybody here. This is spirits that have just kind of jumped in here. Now, the other thing is, I want to say is that you want to care about, if you're going to go to a seance, kind of research the person. If they ask you, for the name, for pictures, for items, and for you to bring them in, or for you to send information before you come in, I'd be leery of that because I don't know, it's kind of easy to kind of use all of that in the quote seance. Also, if it's like around a table and you can't really see everything and it kind of seems like, I don't know, it's dark and there's curtains around you guys, like, like you can't really tell what's going on, then I'd be leery of that because you're not really sure what gimmicky thing they're doing. And if it's like knocking on the table or the table's moving, I don't know. I'd be very careful. I'm not saying those things can't happen. Absolutely can. But I feel like those things can happen straight up in, with the lights lifted. You can see what's going on. You don't have to be near the table for things to move, by the way. That's another thing. You don't have to be near the table for things to move. Things can move on their own. And so with me, I do something called gallery readings. And gallery readings are when you sit in a group and I read everybody in the room. I can do up to 25 people. That is all I can do before I pass out. But I read every single person in the room when I do those. And I'm sure you've seen galleries on TV and things like this. And they do these big galleries with hundreds of people. And they read 5. And the reason why I don't do that is because if you're going to come in and you're going to get a ticket at my gallery and you want to talk to someone, you're going to talk to someone. I don't get names. I don't get information. You can decide at the very last minute who you're going to talk to. All you need to tell me is, I want to speak to my mother. I want to speak to my grandmother, mother's side, or a friend, or whatever, because energy is energy. I'm not calling people in when I do readings. I am just connecting on a Wi-Fi. With seances though, and the reason why it's different is I am lifting the gates and letting all of those frequencies make themselves known versus to where I'm holding off all of the other energies and saying, no, they just want to talk to this particular person. I'm going, all right, here we go. It's a free for all. Everybody come running in, and I ask them to line up and stand behind the chair so I can know who's for who. That's the only thing I do to organize it. What does that mean? Other spirits in that space can come in? Absolutely. Does it mean spirits that are not connected to the people in the room can let themselves known? Yes, absolutely. And that's the point. And the other point is I want you guys to yell out whatever you see, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're feeling. And I want you to feel that kind of intense feeling that comes from that dimension. And I want to lift up. The gates means that you are not holding the energies off. And I want you to experience the feeling, that intense feeling. And that is also the point for these seances, because people start to feel things. And do things tend to happen sometimes? Yes, absolutely. Like manifestations and things like that can happen, of course. But if you're going to go to a seance, I would definitely check out who the person is ahead of time. And if you don't see them talking about protection, and you don't see them being very clear about that, if they're asking you a billion questions, or even if they're being super vague, I'd be leery. So let's say you want to go to one, you really want to connect, then I'd be really, really careful. But if you're going, oh, I think it'll be fun, Queen Mary's having one, or some place is having one, and they're going to have a seance in this location, I know it's going to be kind of kitschy and all that, but I'm okay with that, then okay. But if you're going there and you're expecting, like, your grandmother to come through, I wouldn't count on it. So there's a difference. There's a very kitschy, what sells kind of situation, kind of more silly vibe. And then there's, people who are spiritual communicators or mediums like me, who are really conducting something to connect for you and want you to experience, to kind of feel that ride. So I would say that look for those things. Look for, their background, what they've done. If you know anyone who's experienced it, read about them. Kind of, you can get a vibe. If they have a website, or if they have like an image of, like, it's like all like, way over the top, and you're like, they're coming into the room with like a raven or a crow on their shoulder, and doing like a really showy, yeah, I'd be a little leery of that. But if they're, just being kind of mystical and stuff, but they really like feel like they're talking in a certain way, and if they're also, make sure that they're talking about protection. I put a circle of protection. I work with Saint Michael, Azrael, Sekhmet, those type of energies that are, to me, protecting me as I do this work, but really protecting you. And when I do them, I'm really big on making sure that the message is correct. So even though I'm allowing everyone to participate and speak out and say what they see or feel, if they are saying like, oh, your grandma's mad at you, or your grandpa says screw off, I will be like, no, grandpa didn't say that, grandma didn't say that. I will stop the person and say, I will correct it. And that's because my responsibility with that world is to make sure I'm honoring and protecting what they are wanting to say, and I'm honoring and protecting you. It's a very, very respectful relationship. They respect me and trust me, and that's because I'm not going to let you leave there going, I can hear them going, why would that person tell them? Of course I'm not mad at them. That's not true. I won't let you leave there thinking those things. So look for those type of ethical, authentic type of scenario, things in the person. Far as like using Ouija boards and spirit communication, that's a different thing. When people use those in seances, I'll do a whole video on Ouija boards, but it's a little different. I don't know if I really count that as a seance, honestly, because you're using a spirit board to speak for you. I mean, I guess you can count it, but I mean, kind of you can get a group of your friends and use a spirit board. You don't really need a medium or anyone to kind of run it for you or lead that for you. So if you're going to go to a seance and you see them saying, and I'll be bringing my spirit board, I would go, okay, why am I paying money for someone to use a spirit board when I can actually use one at home, or use one? Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're like, oh, well, Adela, I don't want to be using a spirit board at home. It kind of freaks me out. So I like going to someone who's going to do it for me. Okay, that's totally fine. But I would say that they're being more of a communicator. They're not really being a medium. They're not really talking to the dead for you. They're just kind of there maybe to kind of lead the group, and so you don't feel so weird doing it on your own or uncomfortable, and you're just kind of in a safe and group environment, right? So that's a whole different thing. And whether to use them or not, I'll do a video on that. I've never really used them. I think I used them once when I didn't know what I was doing, when I was first kind of in this world, and someone, I knew wanted to use them. but I, obviously don't use them. Um, but yeah, to me, a seance is lifting open the gates and saying, okay, I'm not going to um, down that frequency or mute that frequency anymore, or all the frequencies, because the spirit world is in this world with us all the time. And the cool thing about the seance is that we're going, okay, we're going to really pay attention. We're tuning out the world, we're turning off the phones, we're turning down the lights, we're getting quiet, and we're actually going to listen. See, and when I'm leading it, I'm going, hey, you guys, this is what I do a lot, but I want to bring you into this. I want you to have your attention on this, and I want you to hear and listen to those who have been actually probably trying to talk to you all the time. And that's my take on it. So that's my whole thing on our seances real. So is that the seances real? Yes, they are. Can they not be real? Yes, they cannot be real. I don't know what that is. But yes, they can, they totally can be real, and they can totally be just a fun little ride in the park. And I think you should be able to tell the difference, but please make sure, like, if you're really looking for communication, don't go to the haunting, castle seance, because you're just going to get a show. And this isn't a show. To me, when I do them, especially, it's not a show. I'm not a performer. I always say to people, I'm not a performer. I really do have to communicate to people. I really do have to see things. I'm not about doing a show. Doesn't mean I'm not mystical and I don't like to, be in that energy. Absolutely, I do. The afterlife and the underworld are I connect to that. I feel comfortable there. That's where I feel very comfortable. But that's different than putting on a show, and I think you can tell the difference, right? So you guys, please subscribe to here. Don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to tell anyone you think is interested in this type of stuff. I want to build a community. Leave comments, leave questions. I did start a podcast on Anchor, because the podcast I started Podbean is just this. YouTube videos posted onto there. They won't post it onto iTunes. So I started on Anchor, which is super cool and super easy. And soon they're gonna start releasing them to all the other podcast places like iTunes and Stitch and all that kind of stuff. In the podcast, I'm doing different than here. Here, I'm trying to be very informative and give you very specific subject matters and be informative. Podcasts, I'm just kind of going, kind of sharing my experience. Like I just did one on the afterlife and how I've seen it, my experience of how I've seen the afterlife and what I've seen to be. And it's just a lot more casual, where I'm just kind of going, I'm just kind of talking. So, sorry, I'm just like hearing a frequency. Okay, I just thought I felt like energy or something. Not to be like totally annoying and weird. It could just be I need water. Yeah, so with the podcast, I feel like I like it because I can just like talk and just kind of go with my experiences, like what just happened. I'll do a podcast on like those type of things that happen to me all the time, where I can feel energy, or I've actually had many electronic experiences, all kinds of things, and I just want to share with everybody, the stories I get asked and all the time about what happens, and what kind of things have I seen and experienced, and through that I can like explain certain things. And so it's a little bit more casual, like storytelling and experience telling, just me going like, listen, this is what I go through as an intuitive and a medium, but I'm also very grounded and have a normal life. But also what's cool in the podcast is you guys can like send me over your questions through a voice message and all that. So that's The Narrow Room with Adele Levine. Check it out on Anchor. Subscribe to here. I'm going to be posting still on here. And please comment and tell me anything you want to hear about. I love to hear what kind of subject matters you want me to cover. My next videos, I think I'm going to cover a little bit on the other side of things that I like, which is not the other side, but the other type of topics where I like, about my intuitive side, about the awakening. Like I did one on the awakening, but I want to do one like on, remote viewing, and how, I see multiple timelines, and that part of me, my intuitive side. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Adele Levine on Instagram, Facebook, everything else. Have a really great week. And if you are in the area and you want to come to the seance on April 7th at Mystic Museum, check it out. And as always, listen to yourself, follow your intuition, follow your own voice, follow nobody. You know what I mean? Don't get caught up in the guru thing. We are all put with answers inside of us and understanding inside of us. I'm just trying to help unlock it. Skeptics, please step on in, and we should always be skeptical and question everything, but as we're learning and growing, we're not shutting down, we're just questioning. And I'll see you soon. Thanks.